Zampala and welcome to her story. Our guest for today works at RSPN as a senior ecologist. She has also been recognized as one of the biodiversity hotspot heroes by the CEPF. She was also awarded the National Order of Merit Gold at Tonsa from the Jukgebo. Thank you so much, Dr. Latte, for taking your time and talking to us. So let's start off by talking about your early life, your parents, where you were born.
Yes. So I actually born in Kalimpong, and I'm the eldest in the. I brought up and grown up there only. Then I met my husband, and then we married, and then we came to Bhutan. Since 1973 we are here, and he used to be a forester ranger. Then he's promoted up to joint director, and we are travel all over Bhutan. And then myself, now we are permanently living in this house for a long time, from 74.
Yes. And how many children do you have?
I have two children. That one eldest is daughter, and younger one is son.
Yes. Do you have grandchildren?
Yes, I have one grandson from my son.
Okay. And I believe you were working back in the 70s. So what was your first job here in Bhutan?
I work in the Dichinchaling school for 2 years, and in that time, in the Dichinchaling school, the children from class 5 never got passed in the final exam. Like they used to have a final exam, no, class 5. But in that time, first time, when I was teaching them, that is my most proudest time in Bhutan. And that time I was also very young, and they passed 5 of them, and wow. Then and a very good marks. And so I'm very, very proud. Still, I feel very happy when I think of that.
Nice. And any interesting incident you remember from?
In that time, I used to teach small children also, like in a PP. In one small room that time, the children was 71 children in one room, and then there are so many. It's so difficult to teach them, and I think that time was very difficult. But I all the time teaching them, teaching them what you call in a song, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and they used to remember always singing ABC.
So the 70 students were all from the same grade?
Same grade, PP.
Just in
PP, yes.
Wow, must have been quite a challenge.
Yes, it's quite a challenge, all the time fighting, crying. But when we start singing, they just keep quiet and just clapping hand and start singing. And I still remember those days. It's so beautiful time for me also, and for them also, I hope so.
Is it also true that some of the inspectors thought you were the student?
Yes, when I was teaching, I used to teach mathematics in the class 5. Then the student is much older than me and very tall also. And then when the inspector came, and I was standing near the board, and they were telling, "Why don't you sit down?" He thought that I'm a student, and I said, "No, sir, I'm a teacher here, mathematics teacher," and he's laughing. And,
I think everyone would understand, because we started formal education quite late in the country. And what was your next job after that in Bhutan?
Then after that, my husband transferred to Kedu, so I went with him. I just left my job and went. But that time also I used to. But my husband is a very good teacher for me also, because he always used to tell me, "You look after all the family of the foresters," because my job is to, when they are sick, I have to take them to hospital to get the admission for the children in the school. So all the father is free of tension. So I have to take all those kind of responsibility, and he taught me that, because if you do like that, man can work, in a sound, what do you call sound thing. So that's why he was always asking me to look after all the families and all.
Yes, and was that before you joined RSPN?
Yes, before that after Getu, he transferred back to Thimphu. So after that I work in the forestry research for nearly for 10 years. And then there I love that job very much because there is lots of what you call plant specimen was there, and my one of the best hobby is plant identification. So their herbarium specimen was just lying there, so I started looking at that, and then I built a herbarium, then the library also. And library, one of the foreigner expert who was there, he taught me to put it in the cataloging. So our library was the very good library because you can punch it in the what you call from the computer database, so we can check by author's name and the accession number and like that, classification number. So many people used to come and use our library, and that's how I love those days also in the research, because my background also like that. So doing all sorts of research work is, and the staff and the cooperation between the staff is very beautiful. Still I miss that one.
Okay, so we know that one of the main reasons why you went into ecological studies and research and all was majorly because of your husband. But as you were growing up, did you always think that you were going to be an ecologist?
At that time, when I growing up, I never realized that what my grandfather and my mother and my father taught us, because those days there are not many places to go. So my grandfather, when we go from town to our village, on the way my grandfather used to teach me all the plant, these and that, like the leaves, and this tree's name is that, and like that. And my parents also, they used to take us for the weekend into the picnic type of thing, and always we have to collect. Sometimes my dad used to ask me, my sister also, you collect only the leaves, different types of leaves, and then whoever brings the different type of thing, we used to get 2 Cadbury chocolate, the small one. Then in that one, Dad used to show us why these leaves are different, like that. And the flower, sometimes we used to pick up flowers from the ground, what's flowering. That's why then when I started studying these things, it helps me. It's in my inside, so it's coming out, and I knew, oh, we used to collect this plant, and in this like February, all the Rosaceae family is flowering, and then other time when orange flowers or other plant species flower, that I knew from the childhood only. So that's why it's easy for me to understand ecology. What they were teaching us that time is really ecology, how the things work. And then in the what after flowering, who eats that one, which plant fruit eat by what bird, that sorts of thing is I knew from the childhood only.
So your grandparents and your father had a major influence on your career.
Yes, that's why. And one time my brother-in-law also went to our house, eldest brother-in-law, and that time he was quite surprised. While coming back, he said to me, Rebecca, in your house nobody talks of other people, but everybody is talking about the plant, birds and things like that. Whole 3 days I heard that one. I never find anybody is talking like that. Somebody is talking about the caterpillar, somebody is talking about the bird, plant, and like that. So it's everybody loves plant and things like that.
So what about your children? Do they also
yes, they
love plants?
They love, and they do when they are home. even though they are now much older, but still they love to see, and my son and my daughter also like that.
Yeah. And while you were working, you were going places with your husband and you had a career. So was it difficult balancing your work and your...
No, most of the time I'm quite lucky because my parents have the first grandchildren, so they love to keep them, and they are going to school also in Kalimpong. So that's why for me is when
So
they
they were
do
away from you.
away, then as well as those days there are we can have lots of helpers also, isn't it? So we can have easy type of life.
Okay. Yes. And you have written a lot of books on the flowers and the flora and the fauna here. So how many books have you authored till now?
Still I don't remember how many, but I wrote rhododendron book, I wrote poppies book, I wrote pine book. There are some ficus book, and there are many other also small things.
How long does it take for you to write a book?
No, rhododendron books, because I don't like to write a very scientific book like this flora, because it's a because what I thought later, for us those who studied botany, it's very easy to identify plants from this flora, reading flora, but the scientific term or a botanical term is quite difficult for the lay people to understand. So that's why for rhododendron book it took me to translate to the simple English. It took me 3.5 years. And then because I want to be correct, because something like if you want to say indumentum is a very short thing, but in the botanical term, but in simple English, if I have to say that is a brown, thick, and very spongy type of thing like that. So I want to be very correct. So I did it, and then I asked my friend in Edinburgh, Henry Nolte, to look into that, and he corrected again more into that. And other books also, all the time I'm trying to simplify. So so it's easy for people, and if they understand, and then only you care. So that's why what I feel is nowadays also, if you know people, if I know you, then I have something in my mind or in my heart that I care. Oh, she like that, isn't it? I know her like that, isn't it? So that's why in conservation, to know things is much important. So that's why I really love people to understand things, what is what, like plant. Like if I say rhododendron, look at the good flower, beautiful red flower, but that is also a medicine for the dysentery, the leaves, flower, something like that. And if you know this little bit, then people start conserving, protecting, isn't it? So that's why I like to do the wholesome conservation, so people can own they can become their ownership. They think that, hey, this is ours,
And do you have a favorite book among the so many books that you've written?
But I like all the books, but still I like one one article I wrote in Hornbill and the ficus, because in that one, when I was doing the survey for this national, Thomsingla National Park, that time I was doing the vital survey, and when I look at it, there are 17 types of ficus fig trees. Okay, so and I was saying, oh, why these fig trees, and why these so many wild avocado species? That all the research mind works like that. So you want to go further. So when I look at it, then I went to detail why. Then I saw that all the fig arrives in a different months, and that ripening of that fig is a main food for the hornbills, you know. So hornbill can have a plenty of food to eat, and that sort of thing you understand, you know. So that's why I love nature so much. There are so many things to learn, so many things to look, you know, and understand, and something like the same thing like a wild avocado also like that. We have many species of avocado here, and then that is a small one to bigger one. So that is also like that, ripes in a very different time, and not only for the hornbill, there are all monkeys and the what you call deer and all those, you know, for the food for them.
And one of your most popular work is the conservation of the white-bellied herons. So please tell us something about it. How did the whole project start, and what are some of the aims of the project?
Yes, in 1991 I went with my friend Tim and Carol Inskeep. They are the real bird watcher from London, and they wrote a book also, Birds of Bhutan. And I went with them and I saw the white-bellied heron in the Ada Lake, only one. And then that time I was working with research, and then in 1993 I went back again to see that bird. That time I have seen 3 birds. Then I was just keeping record, and then I couldn't really do proper research into that, and that time I have lots of work in biodiversity survey for all the national parks and things like that. So later part when I joined RSPN, that time I started, because there are not many work there, and I used to do lots of biodiversity survey, but as well as the bird is like a black-necked crane was there. I just started that, doing little bit of research on that, and that after that I started looking at the white-bellied heron. That time it's become, before it was endangered, then it's become critically endangered. Now it's more critical, 100th critically endangered. So that's why I was looking at them, and we are just surveying before we started the conservation work. We just wanted to know how many birds are there in Bhutan. So we all the small stream to small lakes to the big river. Big river is only 5, and the streams and things, 353 water bodies. We did it in a 5 years time, going up and down. And one of my colleague who is assistant to me died, but I feel very bad about him, but it's a car accident. So he and myself did lots of work that time, going all around the Bhutan. Then we started first time we started with a 300 Nultram. Then that is also my own money, 200, and 100 is borrowed from somebody. So then after that we got very less money, like 700. Then we started writing small proposal. So we got money slowly, looking at our work, and now they are becoming so critical, and we ask hydropower, Pune Jamsu 1 and 2 also, to help us in doing the captive breeding. So they facilitate us now. They are giving us the what you call white-bellied heron captive breeding center they are building in Chanchi. So if that finish, we wanted to try breeding there and release in the wild again, because it's a very difficult bird, and they eat only fish. So, and then they nest in a very difficult areas on the tree. So that's why. And then after fledging, means after they go from their nest, we don't know what happens, and we are trying to do the satellite transmitter, but sometimes it doesn't work, because they have on the tip of the beak they have this razor, like a saw, because they have to pick up the fish, no? So when we put the satellite transmitter, they have to harness. So harness is always they tap it and tatter it and just drop it, and that is also very costly. One transmitter costs more than $5,000 to $10,000. So somebody is giving us free, so that's why it's a little bit okay. But for us, we cannot afford that sort of money.
Once the breeding center in Chanchi is made, do you think the situation will improve?
Yeah, that's my own assumption. But by by nature, the bird is very rare. And then we wanted to, now I really don't know what's happening to the breeding and it's chicks, after flying, we really don't know how they die. And then that's why we wanted to check with the transmission line and things like that. And I'm looking the areas where there is no transmission line and where there is no hydropower coming, and I'm looking at a small stream where we can release the bird. So that's why I'm hoping that we can raise the number of the white-bellied heron.
You were awarded the Hotspot Heroes by the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund.
Yeah.
So please tell us something about that. Was it for the conservation of the white-bellied herons?
Yes, of course, because I also didn't know why they selected me. And then, one time I got a letter from them. I have to go to Hawaii to receive that award. And then I didn't know why. And I wrote to him also. He didn't reply to me. So then when I went there, when I was receiving the award, before receiving that award, Oliver just announced that how they selected me for the thing. Like in that time, I knew that this is for the white-bellied heron, because they went all over the places to select the hotspot heroes in all over the world, and then only they selected 15 people. So, and then that time he told that he was looking on that Punajangchu, Punakha, that Chekatang, and walking. And I vaguely remember he was carrying his baby on his shoulder, and then his wife, I think, walking. And then they are just trying to see something, And I just looking at the bird there. And then I dropped. They said, where is the white-bellied heron or something like that. They are talking. I heard. Then I said, I just went down and then I showed him to the telescope. Look at it there. Because I was sitting there for a long time, because that's why my knees was not, when I got up, I fell down, and he knew that I was. And he was telling me, how many days you are sitting here? I said, it's more than 6 months I'm looking at it, because I really wanted to know their, ecology, because what they do, what they eat, how many times, where they build a nest, how many times they pick up the stick to build a nest, all detail, So all those things. Yes. So he was talking with me, and I told him all these stories and things like that, and he went and he said thank you, and that day only awarding day. Only told me about that. But before I didn't know that.
So, we also hear that you've won so many other awards. So maybe if you could tell us few.
I really don't know why I received those, but I really very grateful to those people who gave me those awards, and I think they appreciate my work. So I'm very thankful to them, because I really don't know why they gave me, but I knew they know my work and things like that.
You were also awarded the National Order of Merit of Bhutan in 2016.
Rebecca Pradhangi Chiluchugu Kepchu Chadunle Kotsuk Dibe Long Keji Gugi Bana Moshing the Jewi Naxil Shipsul Pezuki Kozin Bedi Chashuno Mogi Kakab Shenle Mingtam Chengi Ranjin Netan Sunchup the Telvi Saintun Tamaya Ka Judechi Tobi Tele Chilo Nitong Chudulu Hotspot Heroes Semigi Saintun Tamaya Topno Dimatse Rebecca Pradhangi Moshing Naso da Nyamlen Chewi Charik da Kedin Rignei Kole Pedip da Disom Maharab Chitsam Yubika Pobjika Lunchonalu Sonam Shinglam Sewi Kengi Be Tung Tung Kena 참사추나 뉴뉴 유비골레 베딥소에 잠디 개합로 차 레짐베 슈위기 뇌준루 개용 생튼 세르기 담마디 남이
Rebecca Pradhan lu ngachi kachive nyuzim mabawal mo na dumache toto zanglagi labduzume pa chi gyakable te rogi te mogi laluta di yiche bom chundi te chi gyakabnae te nyuzin lashu topchil te diwal hak dibe ta moral ta kelo tuchure chi lapchi te toto pane te du gyakabna lu semcheda nakzegi the kechok dakshu jibe chajabil the mora toro kechok ji is isanalu upsa ke kamnanga senbe debe nyeso debe dubme za gendibe namra beru cheu nimatsisira the la za genbe chashudol the anilu ngache garagi khatule kari gasuyul
This is a greatest honor for me to receive this, and I really very shocked to receive this because I never expected that, But I think this is one of the highest level of blessing to me to have this award, because that I really don't know how to, say thanks to Majesty or but. It's a really, sometimes when I look at that award, I feel like crying, how I got this and how much Majesty trusted me and, gave me that, to all the work. And I really don't know how to say things, for that is really, it's a great thing in my life.
You are a senior ecologist, and there are so many young men and women who want to take up your footsteps. So what do you think are some qualities other than loving plants which are important to become an ecologist?
One thing is, in whatever or a ecologist or whatever work, you start, you do, you have to have a passion, it's never about the money or anything, It's if you are very patient to do things, you are always successful. That's my thing to tell all the young generation, because you have to be, not to think of big thing first, You always start with a zero, and then you know how to grow, So slowly when you grow, you are always stable.
Okay. You've also said any other message you would like to add on that for people who are watching the show?
I always like to thank all the Bhutanese, and because all my friends, everybody who really appreciate my work, and then they help me a lot to grow, to be so successful in Bhutan. So I am very grateful to all of our fellow Bhutanese friends and everybody.
Yes. Thank you so much for talking to us. And from Doctor's story, I hope the viewers know that you need to have a passion, and you start with zero and you will be stable someday. Thank you very much for watching.
Other than green, blue I like very much. Nowadays I don't watch movie, but when I used to be young, I used to like that Out of Africa. I love that movie very much. Song, I really don't know much about it, but generally I just listen to symphony and all those, No, I don't have much, but sometimes I love to have, most of the time I love pomegranate very much. Then when I was young, I used to read all those small books, but this one book I still remember reading. That is a very old time, but the Madame Bovary. I really don't know, you know, I want like very peaceful place I love, and I love very quiet, and I don't like noises and things like that, and I like to be a very down to earth, to be with everybody, you know, even in the what you call village, they can talk with me very freely, and I can be with them to understand how they do things, because knowledge is with them, you know. So I love to learn more things from them. So that's all, you know. Other things, I don't have that sort of any ambition or anything to be. Plant identification and the gardening and bird watching. You know, this is something you forget everything when I'm doing this. You know, like when I do identification of one, I'm very much engrossed into this. And when I was doing gardening also, I'm very much that I never think of other things. And bird watching is also same. It's a very peaceful thing, you know. So those things are the most, you know, valuable for me.